Motion.
All right, welcome to this Monday, March 2nd, 2026, 5:46 p.m. workshop of the Lewisville City Council. We do have a quorum. First up on the agenda tonight is the discussion of our consent and regular agenda items. So we'll go ahead and go through that briefly. I've got Mayor Pro Tem Ronnie Cade for the invocation, myself for the flags. We have a proclamation or recognition for our Parks Department, 2 different recognitions there, as well as one for Dr. Jamie Baxter Sly. Next up, we have item E1, approval of the minutes. Item E2, approval of professional services agreement with Tanco Street Lighting.
Assuming this goes through, what is the earliest date that they could potentially install lights?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Assuming this goes through, what would be the earliest date that, I think I saw on the map, but I had to do my math in my head. So what's the earliest date that would actually put lights on the ground, install lights?
So this is the one about purchasing the whole system.
Right.
So they wouldn't, yeah, we would just be, we would own those existing ones.
Right, but when will they start the changing out?
Oh, the change out to LED?
Yeah.
We're probably, it's hard to predict because we've got to go through a negotiation process with TNMP and CoServe, and how do we predict how long that's going to take. I think one of the things that we're going to be, we're going to enter that process kind of slowly and carefully so that we don't expend a bunch of money trying to get it to only hit a brick wall. So we want to kind of be careful about that process. I'm hopeful that we're in the process of changing to LEDs within 12 months.
It looked like, I did the math, but it looked like it could be as early as December, but yeah.
Yeah, we took a shot at it, but it's really hard to predict how fast that's going.
Okay. Yeah, it really comes down to what kind of, if the existing power companies are willing to have that conversation or not.
And we feel confident that TNMP is willing to have that conversation. Right. So we've been in conversations with League City, who is with Tango and TNMP, and they are a willing seller there. So.
Okay.
Item 3, this is our annual dance with TNMP, denying their request, and then that'll go back to negotiation. Item 4, resolution authorizing contracts for the joint election services with Denton and Dallas counties. Item 5, regular hearing, consideration of a resolution of the City Council nominating a candidate to fill a vacancy on the Denton County Appraisal District Board. We have 2 folks that had submitted their names for that one.
I know Dr. Betty Bonner, as we all do. Who's the other one? Sheila Glaze. Well, I met her last year.
So again, this is just to nominate, and then I think the CAD actually ends up filling that position based on the nominees from so there's no vote or anything like that. And then this person will take up the last of Ann's term, and then would potentially be re-elected or filed to elect when the next cycle comes around. It's a hot mess over there because I don't know the cycles anymore, because they added all those 3 elected officials and then the 5, and they all are on different segments now.
And Ann's an appointment type of, well, not an appointment.
No, Ann's was an elected, but by the entities.
Right.
She was not one of the 3 elected.
So are the nominations coming from all the entities, or?
Yeah, any entity can nominate anybody at this point. So, and then that pool of nominees will then go. Now, I don't think they allow us to nominate more than 1.
No.
Yeah, so we need to select 1 to put up there. Any other questions on item 5? Item 6, ordinance consideration amending the fee schedule to add credit card convenience fees to any electronically processed credit card payments made for city water, sewer, stormwater, and refuse collection services. Any questions on that one?
Will that include ATMs, like your bank card?
Debit,
Debit and credit.
Yes.
Debit and credit. So you could do automatic bank draft, cash, or check without
And not be charged.
And we're gonna do a push Venmo still,
let
right?
people know.
Pardon?
Right, that's right, so
Can
it
we
starts.
still do Venmo?
I didn't know you could.
That hasn't changed. We're not taking anything away. We're just talking
Okay.
through the electronic payment of utility bills using a debit or credit card.
We would roll this out on April 1st start, so we are going to start communications and rollout of kind of making sure the public knows this is kind of happens right after you guys take action today.
But it's only on credit and debit cards. It would not be on any of the other forms of electronic or physical payment.
Right, so we already offer ACH through the billing, and you also can pay through Paymentus ACH. If you go through the city's billing, it's free. In fact, you get $1.50 credit to your bill every month. If it's through Paymentus, it's 45 cents for that transaction.
I remember having this discussion, but remind me again, is that also cover any kind of credit card processing fee as well, or is it on top of that?
That's covering all that,
Okay.
so.
That was the issue, is that we were covering that, and so it was becoming exorbitant.
Okay, yeah. But can we cover that on the debit card? Are we supposed to charge them on debit?
Yeah, debit and credit card charges you.
It's about what's getting charged to the city. So anything
Passing
that's
that
getting,
through,
yeah,
right.
anything that's getting charged to the city, we're going to say, now we're going to pass that charge through to the,
Are we going to highlight the
That is a
credit,
pass-through.
the credit they can get on the bill if they do it that way? Is
Dave,
that-
will you talk about the communication plan?
So we've worked with Matt to draft a plan to notify the customers through buck slips that are included in the bill. We'll put messages on the bill. We're going to use social media and other electronic methods to communicate that. It'll give them a month to choose whether they want to remain having the debit or credit card pay their bill, or they can move over to one of the other free or low-cost options. And again, I'm sorry, your question?
Yeah.
So we're going to highlight the fact that if they do it the right way, they can get $1.50 credit.
Absolutely, and we do that already.
I know, but just somebody,
Yeah.
people probably don't know that. If they know that, then maybe they'll make it seem a little bit
It's
easier.
a carrot versus a stick, yeah.
You sure will.
So I do have a question following up on Lonnie's line of thought here. I didn't think you could charge a processing fee for debit cards. I just did a quick little look here, and I know AI hallucinates, but it says you can't charge surcharges for.
It's not a surcharge, it's called a convenience fee for using electronic forms of payment.
Okay, all right.
but a debit card can be used like a credit card.
I know it can be, but
So if it's not asking you for a PIN when you're using your debit card, then
no
it's-
credit card surcharges generally don't apply to debit card transactions. Major credit card networks and federal regulations prohibit merchants from adding surcharges to debit cards, even if processed as credit. So that's just AI talking, so it could be hallucinating, but I did have the same question you had, because I didn't think debit cards usually incur a processing fee.
There's a difference, there's a distinction between a surcharge and a convenience fee. And we're specifically targeting the convenience fee. And it is specifically allowed for municipalities.
And I'm not a fan of paying for people's miles and other things on the credit card side of things, so if you want to get miles or whatever it is you're getting, then that's fine. You can do that without having the city carry the load for that.
And there's other alternatives that are no cost to the customer.
Okay. More questions? We do have Director of Parks and Recreation with a report, and we do have some closed session. Any other questions about our agenda? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item B of the workshop session, which is our Sculpture Garden Exhibition Selection Update. Denise Helding.
Mayor, Council, City Manager, thank you for having me here tonight to tell you about our renovation on the courtyard and our first exhibition that we're going to have in that new space. So I'll just take you on a little journey of pictures. This was our before. This was our vision for the renovation, and we've just been posting this picture everywhere during the renovation to keep everybody's eye on the prize. I am a big fan of taking pictures throughout, so we have lots of renovation pictures, just some pictures of that. And then here was last Wednesday evening at substantial completion. Today, the trees have gone in and half of the sculpture pedestals have also gone in. So it's even more substantially complete now. So with this renovated space, we're now going to be using it as a sculpture garden. We will have a rotating sculpture exhibition program that will feature 6 works of art at all times. This first year, we will have a set of sculptures that will be here for 1 year, and then a set of sculptures that will, 3 sculptures will be here for 1 year, 3 sculptures will be here for 2 years. And then every year after that, we will bring in 3 new sculptures at that 2-year clip. So there's always going to be some remaining ones and some new ones going in. We're going to try to change them out every April. That's the plan. Maybe it'll change, we'll come back to you if it does, but that's the plan, to have new works up by Colorpalooza every year is kind of our goal. For the 2-year loans, we're going to be paying each artist $2,000. And for this year's 1-year loans, we'll pay them $1,500. We're going to try running a best in show contest for the first 3 months of every new exhibition, and we'll do a patron voting situation. And that winner, that artist might get an extra $500 for being called best in show, and we'll highlight their label in such a way. We ran this call in December and January on our preferred website called Cafe, Call for Artist Entry. And we limited it to artists from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. We received applications from 19 qualifying artists, a few non-qualifying from outside that range, and we had 52 works to consider from those artists. So here are the 6 that we will be having. The first one is Gigi Miller and her work called Flora de Alegria. I'm sorry, very bad at Spanish. And she's a mosaic artist, and we already know Gigi. She actually has the commission for the Centennial Trail, where she's going to be making some beautiful mosaic works to adorn that trail. So the board thought it was a really neat possibility to feature an artist that we soon will have a permanent work of art for as a little connection and PRTs and get her work in front of the community a little sooner. So this will be her work, and it's just for a 1-year placement for her. Our next work is called Dream, and it is by Dallas-based artist Jessica Bell. It's powder-coated steel, 1-year term there. By the way, we will not have these pillows as pictured. They are fabric, they are magnetic only, so a little risky to use outside. I'm hoping that we can have them at the opening, but they won't be out there day in and day out. Our next work is by an artist named Elizabeth Fenchie. She is based out of Nacogdoches, as far as I understand. And this work is called Coral Stardust, and it's about 7 feet tall, interesting colors, and a nice bright piece. Another 1-year placement. Pascal Pryor is a Dallas-based artist, and she is another artist that we already have a relationship with. She is working on some art for the Declid Trail, and the board chose her work Waterfall 2 to be on a 2-year placement to again coincide with when her work might be going in out there on the trail. And our work with her on the trail will be this style of hers, that is this Core 10 steel with really thick, beautiful stained glass and this water look. So I think it'll be a really nice tie. Another 2-year placement is by a gentleman named Fred Rossett, and her name is Grace in Stainless, and really beautiful. She reminded us of dancers, so that's why we just thought it would be perfect for this space. And our final piece for this year is called Palm Springs Modern, and it's by a gentleman named Russ Connell. And yep, just kind of a fun, colorful, another steel work. In case, we ran into some surprising scheduling challenges with this, and in case it kept our animations, how silly. In case anything happens with the 6 that we're planning on, we do have one backup, Human Nature figure number 1 from Art Garcia. So if something happens to one of them, we're going to call in Art, and we will have his work, which will be really cool and pretty monumental in size for that one. So, any questions about any of the works? Or?
No, they're cool. We've got a lot of great pieces. That's really exciting. I'm assuming we're putting these on the art trail. They'll have little QR codes so that people can learn more about them or link to other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there will be a unique label, permanent place and then a changeable label out there with the artwork, and then we will do some kind of rack card each year that will be inside the grant that people could take with them and learn more about the work, about the artist and the work.
That's awesome. Do we have any rights to use those graphics on bookmarks or anything like that, or?
Yes, we can use pictures of the works in our space,
Okay.
but that might just kind of
Just in our
figure it
space,
out.
I got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Denise,
Since we don't own these works,
Right.
yeah.
on the prior presentation that was sent to them, were there ones like I think the
The
hug?
hug.
That was one of the ones that was not able to be placed?
Correct,
Okay.
right. So Tree of Life is not available. That was a misunderstanding about what we were asking for. And she had a smaller piece, 2.5 feet. So that wouldn't really fit the bill. And the hug also is 2 feet or so. It's not the 59-inch.
Oh.
Yeah. So so just wouldn't be the right,
Scope.
scope, exactly. So just one final slide is a save the date notice. So we're going to be putting these in the first week of April, and we would like to do an opening reception. We're planning to do that on Sunday, April 12th from 6 to 8 in the evening.
That's awesome. Please thank the Arts Board, they did a great job.
Well, thank you so much.
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and move on to item C, Alley Traffic Calming Pilot Program. And we have our city engineer, Brett Bourgeois, to give the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Brett Bourgeois, City Engineer, and I'm here to talk about Alley Traffic Calming Pilot Program. So usually alleyways are low-speed roadways, and we've received complaints about some speeding, so that's why we're here to kind of discuss what we're thinking and kind of give some background about traffic calming in general, what our policies have been, and what we're planning going forward.
Right on the side, yeah. She might have turned it off.
All right, so traffic calming in general. So what is traffic calming? It's a way of trying to reduce speeds on roadways through physical design features. So a lot of times we design roadways to be narrow, to have on-street parking, to have buffered bike lanes on them, something to make the drivers feel uncomfortable in a way to reduce their speeds. If the roadways are really wide and very open, drivers feel more comfortable and tend to drive faster. There's other ways to do it with horizontal features, so chicanes, which are kind of the S-curves you put in the roads to kind of slow drivers down to have to navigate those. Traffic circles or bulb outs or curb extensions, ways to narrow the roadway or put obstacles to have drivers have to navigate and reduce speeds. The other category of traffic calming devices that we generally don't like to use is what's a broader category. It's called vertical deflection devices. And these are speed bumps, speed humps, and speed tables. Now there are 3 different categories. Speed bumps are kind of what you expect to see in parking lots or shopping centers, really kind of a jarring short bump. Speed humps are much more gradual and spread out, and much more rolling nature. And speed tables are even bigger than that, usually with like an elevated crosswalk across them. Something to make the vehicles change vertical deflection and slow down doing that. So currently, on our development code, we do not allow the usage of vertical deflection devices on roadways, public roadways, unless it has approval from the city engineer and the fire marshal. So we generally don't do that. We don't like them, and it impacts multiple different aspects and causes multiple problems. I have spoken with the fire marshal about this. We have talked about it. We are in general agreement as to this application of it, but we want to kind of talk about this is what our current code is and why we're proposing changing it. So, as I mentioned, we don't really use it on public roadways. Speeding is usually, when we look at it, is an individual. You have 1 or 2 bad actors, you get a lot of like, speeding complaint. We go out, we study the roadways. You'll see 1 or 2 vehicles that are speeding, and those are the ones people are complaining about. But the vast majority are within the reasonable speed for the roadway. When you put in a vertical deflection device, what happens is that you're impacting every single road user. So you might get 1 or 2 people complaining about speeding. You come out, you put in a traffic calming device, you'll have 500 complaining that you put something in there because they were the ones that are now being impacted and not causing the problem. Again, with these traffic calming vertical deflection devices, you create what's called an acceleration-deceleration cycle. So you might have an overall average decrease in speed. You do not have a reduction in speed in between the traffic calming devices. People are accelerating up and they slow back down for the next traffic calming device. There's a psychological effect of that where people feel like they're making up for lost time. And then you also have just a natural vehicles accelerating, decelerating, which is generally when you have potential for high conflict with people coming out to the roadway. So, like I said, we received some complaints. The first complaint we received was on Piedmont, the alleyway near Piedmont Drive. Resident complained of speeding, so we went out there and did some traffic studies. Around the same time of that, we received some complaints on alleyways over by Lake Crest Drive. Right, Lake Crest Lane, sorry. So we went out and we studied that area too. Kind of coincidental, we had two sets of complaints from two different alleyways, but these alleyways are pretty unique. They're long, they're straight. We usually don't design roadways very long and straight like this, but we do have these situations every now and then. So alleyways in general currently, per state law, has a prima facie speed of 15 miles per hour. What prima facie speed means is on the face of it, so all the roadways in the state, and every roadway has what you'd assume is the right appropriate speed to drive set by state law and by driver practice. So alleyways are very narrow. Usually to have 15 miles an hour, you have kids, people accessing trash collection, etc., driveways, so it's a very low speed limit. We went out and studied these alleyways. We saw that the 85th percentile, which is the speed limit, the 85th percentile is the speed at which 85% of the population drive. So we're seeing the 85th percentile at 20 miles per hour, which is considerably higher than the 15 miles per hour. We have both roadways, both alleyways have exceeded that level. We had a question about how many vehicles did we see on those. So on Piedmont, we did multi-day study on both alleyways. Piedmont, we saw about 90-ish vehicles, an average daily trip value between 20 and 25. And then on Lake Crest, we saw about 440 vehicles with an average daily value of 140 vehicles. So we had quite a few vehicles we studied over multi-days, and this is where we got these numbers from. So we have good data saying that there is a speeding problem on these two alleyways. So what our pilot program is looking at, or proposing, is that we need to have a 50% speed limit, or 50% speed velocity of 15 miles per hour, so over 50% of the drivers are going over 15, and 85% are going around 20. So that's what our criteria is. And as I mentioned before, vertical deflection devices impact every single vehicle that drives in an alleyway. So these alleyways are private, they're not private, they're public roads, but they are limited to only the residents that live on those, drive those alleyways for the most part. We would like to see a petition completed by the residents of 80% of the residents on the alleyway that are going to be impacted agreeing to installing these devices. So once we put them in, everybody's going to know about them. If it's one person complaining, we don't want to go out there and install something for one person, then we have the entire neighborhood show up and say, what are you guys doing? So we were trying to, approach that as a way of saying, does the whole community agree with this? This is your guys' alleyway, you all live on here, you all agree with this. And then if we do install them, what we want to do is we want to continue to monitor. We'll go back out and do speed studies again. It takes about 3 to 6 months for traffic speeds to normalize after some change has happened on the roadway. So you put these in, come back out in 6 months, and you see if they actually work. You're going to have an immediate effect right away, but people get used to them. Driver behavior changes and normalizes. Then we're going to listen to the feedback of the residents. If they don't like them, we're more than willing to take them out. If they like them, we're more than willing to keep them in. So we're going to want to have this kind of feedback and back and forth with the community. Now the next steps is how do you install them? What do you do? Alleyways are used for trash collection in these neighborhoods, so you're going to have trash service coming through there. They're a big impact on the speed bumps or the vertical deflection devices. So there's always a debate between bolt-down ones that you just install, you bolt them down, versus having a cast-in-place one where you pour concrete or asphalt to create them. The advantage is the bolt-down ones, you can get out there, install them relatively cheap, relatively quickly. The cast-in-place, and you can remove them easily as well. The cast-in-place ones, they're permanent, harder to install, harder to remove. The advantage of the cast-in-place ones is that they take a beating much better. So you have trash service going through those alleyways, they're not going to get torn out, they're not going to get damaged. They're going to function much longer life. Also, that next considerations. A lot of these alleyways have a valley gutter or for drainage. So we need to make sure that we include drainage design, having spacing like these ones have. Like these are considered what are called speed cushions. It's a speed hump with gaps in them. So it allows drainage to go through, allows for emergency service vehicles to access through with breaks in them. We want to work with the trash service about what designs or what issues they've had with them and what they think of how they perform. And we have to look at what spacing we want, because we talked about the acceleration, deceleration cycles that you have. We want to make sure that we space them appropriately to have the effect that we're looking for. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
So are we starting with kind of these two streets, or these, I guess, 3 alleys actually? And then is there a plan to just start here and see how it goes? Or are we going to, if we get complaints from other alleys, is that what triggers a study for the speed?
So anytime we do get complaints, we go out and we study, whether it's a roadway or any public roadway, we'll go out and study. Alleyways are a lot of times public road access or public roadways. So we do get complaints, we go out and we study them and look at what's going on. We're very cognizant and concerned about the fact that if we do this, it could open the floodgates and have this ripple effect where everybody wants them. That's why we want to have those thresholds of saying, okay, you meet the 50% over 15 miles per hour, you have 80% over 20 miles per hour, and you have 80% of the residents that are going to be impacted willing to do this. So it's a pretty high thresholds to hit, we feel, and that's kind of what our plan is. And we don't have a lot of alleys that are long and straight like these ones are. These are kind of unique ones within the city that we're trying to address. And our current design code don't allow those long alleyways like that anymore. We do have more curves and bends and shorter drive lengths as well now.
But I think what you were getting at is, are we starting with, I think she's asking, are we starting with these as being a pilot program, and at the end of 6 months, we look at it and we say, hey, this was successful, the neighborhood is okay with it, now we move forward and we make it available to others? Are we waiting to get that information?
I think we're waiting to hear back from how it performs. I know that there's a lot of controversy with the vertical deflection devices. People want them, once they get them put in, they don't like them. So we want to kind of step our toe into it and see. It's going to have to be an application or, a case-by-case basis that we're going to have to look at it. On a public roadway where anybody can access and drive it, it's a different conversation versus an alleyway that has 20 residents or 30 residents accessing it, where emergency services don't access it. They access the fire emergency or police emergency from the main roadway, not from the alleyway. I did speak with the fire marshal. They have gotten ambulances back there to get people out, but usually they'll access from the main roadway. So it's a very small chance that we'll be doing them anywhere else besides specific alleyways if they come up again.
And that's another criteria in this as well, that the fire marshal has to approve it.
Correct.
So it's 80%, the speeds, fire marshal has to approve, and then that's what it
Also.
Yeah, I really like the just the idea of putting the parameters around it so that we can, because that's obviously what my concern would be, was somebody say, oh, well, they got one, so you get one person that gets upset. And I understand it feels like, 20 miles an hour is really not fast, but when it's going down the alley behind your house, it feels very fast, and it probably, if you were asking people how fast are people driving, they're probably guessing it's more than 20 miles an hour.
So this is the picture of the alleyway that we're talking about. So you can see it's pretty narrow.
Yes.
Or we can't really narrow any more than that. We don't have a lot of options to reduce those speeds other than looking at this as a potential solution. Ideally we would do something to narrow the roadway, but you already have trash service, you have driveways, it's very narrow, you already have, parkways, or there's not a lot of options anymore.
So, and you are talking about doing not the cast in place, the other ones.
We're talking about doing the bolted ones first.
Bolted ones first.
We'd want to see how they perform with the trash service. We'll reach out to them and see what designs they have or what they've experienced and which ones will hold up best. There is a handful of designs out there that are acceptable for fire service or for ambulance service. Let's get a good starting point. But we'll have to look at that, and we'll have to have this conversation, and we'll put in bolt-in ones and see how they perform. if they're getting torn out every 3 weeks or 4 every month, is the cost effectiveness worth it? Are people liking it, and do we need to come back in and look at doing like a more permanent solution? But if we do that, then we need to have data saying that people want it for permanent uses.
Do they make options other than that? Is that plastic or HDP or whatever that is?
They have many different options. You can do rubber, plastic, like I said, you can do cast in place with concrete or asphalt. There's lots of different options out there. And that's one of the things we'll look at as to what products are available, are easily sourceable and available, and what the costs are for them.
I'm assuming they have ratings for, like,
Yes.
you know, quick garbage trucks can go over.
Yep. Yeah, and actually all the ones I have in here, these ones are even rubber mountable ones too, deck down ones as well. So.
You mentioned that one of the problems with these vertical deflection devices is people jackrabbit between them.
Yes.
So how do you prevent that in the alleyway where it's...
We put them a foot apart.
Yeah. Like mobiles for a bike, right?
Well, and that's a very good concern. So like on this one right here, there is no space in between them. We'd have to look at the alleyway condition. So if there is a drainage component of valley gutter there, we'd have to put probably a break in the middle to allow the water to drain through. Those are some of the considerations we have to look at. We haven't spent a lot of staff time diving into the fine details because we want to have this conversation with council first and let you know if this is something that we are discussing and thinking before we spend some time and really dive into the next steps.
I do have Mr. Carl Kraus here who wishes to speak on this item. Mr. Kraus?
Okay.
You have 5 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Can you pass those out?
Yes, sir.
I've been talking to Brett. We haven't actually met. This all started with Chris McGinn the last time I was here, and then David Solomon, I think. He's retired now. So I'm kind of the driver behind all this, I think, getting started. And we have a real problem in our alley. And Brett kind of decided, or, you know, he and I have been going back and forth, and this was the result of my effort to try to slow traffic down. The first page is mainly there, the red star. There's speed limit signs through the whole alley area, except for that one star area. That would be full coverage for people coming into the alley knowing what the speed limit is. But yeah, I've seen, you know, I don't have a speed gun or anything, but I've seen people probably going over 25 miles an hour from that because the elevation at Corporate down to Valley View is quite a bit. And a lot of people just take their foot off the brake and, you know, they're going downhill and going really fast. And, you know, my whole goal behind all this is slow the traffic down. And, you know, going to police non-emergency number and saying, hey, you know, can you get a police officer out there? It doesn't happen because they're busy doing other stuff. And I can understand that. But this, to me, is the only other option. And probably from what Brett's looked at, same thing too. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I want to appreciate staff for looking at all the different types of angles that we can come at this. And there's always some concerns when we start dabbling in this, especially when we talk about that jackrabbiting piece. You know, that is it's one of those things that's common wisdom. But let's see what we can do. Let's see if it creates the opportunity. And worst case scenario, we come back to it and go, this is the data, and we can make an informed decision based off of that.
But that's why I'm here, is to listen to what Brett had to say, and then, you know, just add some additional information. That's all from like the last time I was here. But it's only that one speed limit sign that hasn't been put in yet that would, you know, tell everybody coming into that alley area what this should be 10 miles an hour, and they're not. But
Staff has that information.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kraus, we thank you for coming out here and advocating for your community. It's important work.
I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me.
Always, always. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Brent. Item D, proposed Crown Center Plan Development Amendments. And the presentation here by Director Richard Lukey.
Good evening, Mayor Gilmore, members of the City Council, City Manager, fellow staff members. Purpose of this workshop item is to give you a brief overview of upcoming amendments to the Crown Center sub-district of the Castle Hills PD. So first I want to just kind of very broadly show you the context of these amendments that have been scheduled. They've been under staff review and they are scheduled for P&Z and City Council public hearings. The subject area is only the Crown Center sub-district shown here in the bright pink. It does not impact any of the other areas of the Castle Hills PD. So just a little background information on the timeline associated with Crown Center. The original Crown Center concept was adopted as part of an amendment to the development agreement. We used the term variance back in those days. That was February 17th of 2020. Staff worked with the developer in 2019 to develop this very unique district. Going back to the map, it's 140 acres on the far western side of Crown Center, on the west side of the Sam Rayburn Tollway. And that's been an area that's been kind of reserved for something really special. And really the vision is to create an urban, mixed-use, walkable, pedestrian-oriented urban village in that area. I think the inspiration has been some of the other successful TOD type developments in the DFW area, like Legacy West, that sort of thing, where with a mixture of office and retail, restaurant, residential, all in kind of a more walkable format with buildings closer to the street. Really created as a hybrid form-based code. And keep in mind, that was before annexation, so we had to, it was not zoning, but it was designed to be zoning because we were anticipating annexation about a year and a half down the road from when this was adopted. So then, lo and behold, January 3rd, 2022, we basically just took that plan and inserted it into the PD. That was the easiest part of the whole plan development for Castle Hills, was the Crown Center sub-district. Again, that was adopted in January 22. So that was right before COVID, so that was the game changer that has precipitated these amendments. So we do have a public hearing scheduled for P&Z tomorrow night on March 3rd, and then it's scheduled for another public hearing before council on April 6th. There's two components to this, to these proposed PD amendments. The first is the text amendments, actually the rules, the written language, the written development regulations to the sub-district. And then the second component is the amended exhibits. That involves an amended concept plan, an amended framework plan, and an additional cross-section to add flexibility. But overall, the primary purpose of these amendments is to address the really sharp changes in the office and retail market since COVID-19, and to aid in the activation of the southern area. And keep in mind, the original plan that was adopted back in 2020, pre-COVID, was very aggressive. It was envisioning a minimum, and that minimum was documented in the PD for 3.1 million square feet of office and retail, almost 140 acres, with a cap of 2,000 multifamily units. So we'll go over the proposed amendments to the text, and then the remaining slides will show the images that really kind of illustrates those changes in a little bit more detail. There's 8 kind of broad categories here, so I'll try to go over those quickly. First, we added concept plan amendment language to Crown Center, and that was borrowed from the language that was used in the realm. That had worked very, very well. Gave us a lot more direction, because right now there is no concept plan amendment language in Crown Center. There's very detailed language about amending the framework plan, but not the concept plan. So that was an oversight, and so that was corrected. We also removed extended stay hotels as permitted uses with approval of an SUP from the use table. So those will be prohibited in the Crown Center sub-district. There's currently a provision that allows unlimited multifamily units above the 10th floor of a building with SUP approval, and that's been kind of lessened to above the 5th floor. So it will allow that only with SUP. So again, a case-by-case basis that allows us to do all the studies to make sure there's adequate infrastructure to serve that if that opportunity does come our way. Also, one of the bigger changes to help activate the southern area, and when you go back, down here there are 2 existing office buildings, kind of all by their lonesome, and that has been a problem, and I'll get a little bit more into that, but I wanted to flip back to that to address this major bullet point here. Beyond the initial construction of 1,320 multifamily units, we'll be allowing groups of 300 units, or actually I should jump up to this first one here, to allow 720 multifamily units in sub-area 3, which is that southern sub-area, for immediate construction. And again, that is to help activate that area where those 2 office buildings are, because they have not filled up as quickly and are not enjoying the mixed-use environment that we are seeing activating other areas of Castle Hills. And then once that 1,320 units are constructed, then the PD would allow groups of 300 multifamily units after the completion of an additional 75,000 square feet of non-residential. Now that is a change. The current text has 250,000. So again, it was a lot more aggressive. That was all pre-COVID, and then, the expectations were much greater back then. The next one reduces the minimum multifamily height to 4 stories, where it's currently 5. We added options for primary pedestrian frontages that are adjacent to parking facilities. And then finally, there's pretty lengthy specific guidelines for ground floor uses of multifamily. And that was basically borrowed from the Brown sub-district, particularly the Jefferson project, which is being built just to the west of Kroger. That is one that y'all saw in the amendment came through in 2023, where we added a lot of specifics to that allowed that project, particularly giving us a little bit clear definitions on what areas we want to encourage commercial, areas that have adequate visibility and frontage that will support, will support commercial uses, versus the areas that do not have the frontage or the visibility. Those will still be allowed to be residential uses. And then, so of the ones that are, that can support commercial uses, as approved by the planning director, then that all has to be built to commercial building code. But then there's some flexibility built in. In times of really high market demand, 100% of that can be commercial. But in areas where the economy is struggling, we still will have a maximum of 40% will have to, or minimum 40% will have to be commercial uses. Then there's a maximum 40 can be live-work units, and then a maximum of 20 can be residential. And what that does, in those times that the economy is struggling, we're not going to have a long stretch of vacant storefronts, which could really be damaging to the overall development. We get some other uses in there temporarily, and then when the market rebounds, and it usually does, then the conversions can happen. And there's a lot of examples throughout the Metroplex where that has been very successful over the last 20 years.
I'm sorry, before you move on, can I ask a question about the 5th bullet point, the beyond initial construction?
Yes.
Bullet point. So talk to me about the 300 multifamily units. So 75,000 gets completed, unlocks ability to 300 more, then another 75,000 for another 300? Or
Yes.
once that first 75,000 is done, it's 300, 300, 300, 300?
It's 300, you got to build 75,000, then you get an additional 300 units. Then another 75,000 square feet, and then an additional 300.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Richard, I also have a question about that. So the 1,320 That would be what's currently built right now, plus the 720 that we talked about in the fourth bullet point.
That is correct. We currently have 900 units completed under the current rules. And then this amendment unlocks the additional 720, so that's where we're getting to the 1320.
Okay, so once they get to the 1320, then they have to build another 75,000 square feet of some type of commercial or non-residential use.
Correct.
And then they get an additional 300.
Yes.
Okay, and then what's the overall total? Is that changing or is that staying the same beyond?
The total of,
So we have like a 2,000, right?
yes, 2,000 cap, and that is still in place.
However, there's also any multifamily that's above, what we're saying now, the 5th floor of the building
Correct.
is unlimited and that doesn't count against the
If approved through
the
an
2,000.
If
Okay,
approved.
but that's the way it is now, except it's the 10th floor.
It's the 10th floor, yes.
Okay,
And keep in mind too, the 5th floor would still require high-rise construction, which is a much more expensive type of construction. And then of course, 10th floor would be high-rise construction. So, and again, like I said, we have that ability to have that SUP to take a closer look at it and look at impacts.
so is the reason that we're just lowering it from the 10th to down to 5 floors, is just because of the demand or?
Yeah, to kind of match the current realities that we have with the market. Higher probability of maybe attracting something like that with the amended standard versus the current standard that's in place. Like I said, it was very aggressive. It was pre-COVID. It was based upon the demands that were in place and the interest that was out there back in 2019.
Okay.
So let's, hopefully these images will help this kind of come into focus. So this is the current concept plan, which primarily addresses kind of the overall general uses. And as you can see, this is the 2 existing office buildings. I believe one was completed right around 2020.
The plan top, and the other one was a few years before that.
And I believe one of them is still largely empty.
Largely like all empty.
All empty. Yes, which is not a good situation.
Not for a lack of trying, but.
And I did fail to mention that the developer and his engineering team are here to answer questions, provide clarification. And as you can see, the blue does represent primarily office uses. So we've just got a forest, a very segregated cluster of office over here, all by itself, separated by the large green space that's already developed and in place. The rest of it has a fairly good mix, but unfortunately, this is where the existing multifamily is located, in these 2 buildings and in this building. So very segregated from the other areas. And I do want to mention, we've had kind of a demonstration project in the Realm. The 9-story tower at the Realm was, I think, completed in 2020, 2019? 17, okay. And it kind of struggled for a while until next door, multifamily was built with ground floor commercial with like 3 restaurants, and that just activated that building and filled up. It really met the needs of the companies and the workforce that's looking for these mixed-use environments where you can go downstairs and get a coffee, or you have several options to go to lunch, or if you want to live close and walk to work. And I understand quite a few employees live in that neighboring multifamily that work in that building. So again, that model has really worked well to activate that area, and that's what we're attempting to do here. So for the proposed amendment, as you can see, this is where the 720 units would be added, right here adjacent to the existing office buildings. The hope is that it will actually draw demand to construct a 3rd office building, which is shown there in purple. There's also some retail was amended here along the frontage. There is a high demand still on the frontage roads for smaller scale retail. And this middle area here of sub-area 3 remained largely unchanged except for a little cluster of retail here, where that's really kind of envisioned as a cluster of restaurants to take advantage of the proximity to the park. And this is another area here. Most of this retail kind of in this part. This is a larger format retail, could be a grocery store, but there has been interest in a grocery store in that location, or some other large-scale retail. And that is probably the perfect spot for it, right along 544 and Business 121 and the Sam Rayburn Tollway. And then along with the other. And again, this retail would support the existing multifamily, and then there's opportunities for additional office uses in there. So again, it's shuffling things around and providing a little bit more balanced mix.
Richard?
Yes.
Sorry, just really quickly, just so we all have a full understanding. So the primary residential uses are the multifamily buildings, right?
Yes.
With ground floor retail? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Particularly along the areas with a new rule that are deemed to have adequate accessibility and visibility to support commercial.
Right.
Along with the framework plan, which also illustrates primary pedestrian frontages, which are, sorry, going the wrong way here, which are illustrated in kind of these purple lines where we're expecting heavier foot traffic. That's where we want to bring the buildings closer to the street and engage the street and the pedestrians with the buildings.
Okay, and then, so then the freestanding retail, those are single-story buildings, right?
They have the ability to be single-story, but they could be multiple-story.
So there could be like retail on the bottom and office above?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a
and then
possibility.
And then the purple ones are the primary non-residential uses. Would that be like an office building with, I mean, that could have residential in it, right? If it was above the 5th floor?
Correct.
Okay.
With an SUP approval.
But primarily that would be
Primarily
office
for
building?
a low, I'd say a mid-rise office building, you know, it would have to be minimum 4 stories. The only single level buildings would only be allowed for the standalone retail. Standalone retail can be 1 story, everything else has to be minimum 4.
And so I see a surface lot kind of between 121 and this multifamily over here. But these other, are those garages?
Are you talking?
The gray
these?
squares, yeah.
Yeah, those are envisioned to be garages, and you know the text does address the treatments that are needed for garages or the treatments required for surface parking lots to minimize the impact of the parking on the walkable areas.
Okay.
Moving on to the framework plan, like I said, this is the existing, and again, it was pretty aggressive in the areas that were identified to be pedestrian priority frontages. And then this is the amended area, and of course it incorporates the newer layout, but we also added kind of a new category, critical pedestrian connections. We wanted to really make sure that we had conceptually strong pedestrian connections from the spine road, where most of the buildings are going to be congregated and where most of the pedestrians will congregate, and give them a comfortable walkable area to get to these retail buildings. They could be restaurants, entertainment, could be retail service. We didn't want people wandering through oceans of parking lots. We wanted to have make sure that there is a defined, pleasant sidewalk that would connect these different components. Again, there was some more of those illustrated in those areas. So again, it's really, in a nutshell, just really a reshuffling, a little bit reduction in the density. And that doesn't mean that, if the economy keeps improving and, 5 or 10 years from now, if the economy's really well, there's a high demand, we could build the 3 million square feet if there is a demand. But right now, that minimum threshold for commercial is down to 750,000, which is still a pretty good amount of commercial compared with the 2,000 multifamily units that are allowed in Crown Center. So with that, and then the final item is, this is one additional cross-section that was added to the PD to, again, provide more flexibility. This, I believe, is primarily the spine road, which is a 4-lane divided, but it does provide a provision for on-street parallel parking, which again, kind of ties into what Brett was talking about earlier, calming traffic, slowing down the traffic and making it a little bit more comfortable for pedestrians. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I think not so much questions, but just kind of observations here. So one, I like this a lot better. I think, Mr. Stanley, we looked at this a while back, we were talking warehouses over here. Much better use of the space, from my perspective, as a user over here. Really like it. And Richard, you'd mentioned the Realm a couple of times as a comparator. We have office space in the Realm for my company. I really like that space. It's nice, it's walkable. We go to the restaurants down there all the time. The fountains are pretty. If that's kind of the template for that, for this, I think it's a great design. I like it.
That was definitely the inspiration. And actually, it was the right recipe.
Yeah.
Good open space, good commercial offerings within, and livability, everything within walkable distance. Any other questions?
Other questions or comments?
Any comments from the developer or the engineering team?
No, I would like to just say something, I guess. Your comment, Councilmember, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Randy Rivera, I'm a planner with McAdams. But you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the Realm. And we had an opportunity at McAdams to look at this office building. And when Bobby came into our office, it was like, Bobby, this building's like so far away from anything that's happening over here. When we went to the Realm, we were able to go downstairs and go to those restaurants. And so working with Mr. Stanley, working with Richard, it was about how do we get this activated over here? Because this is about a quarter-mile distance, this length here, and you're not going to want to walk that summertime, or wintertime, things like that here in Texas. So how do we get this energy on the south side? And the goal of the developer is to develop from the back towards the front, because you don't want to develop all the front and then leave the back. The visibility back there would be challenging. And so trying to come up with a way to get residential here, probably developing, this part first and then coming towards Sam Rayburn. But that's exactly the experience we had at McAdams of choosing the Realm over this location. And so we want to work as hard as possible to get that office building filled up, get more bodies in there. So. But we're available for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Council? Okay, all right. I think we're good. All right, that's all the items for workshop. We have no further action. We'll go ahead and break, and we will start up our regular session at 7 p.m. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock. And my microphone is fighting me. There we go. It's 7 o'clock, and we're going to call this regular session of the Lewisville City Council to order. We do have a quorum. First up on tonight's agenda, we have the invocation by Mayor Pro Tem Ronnie Cade.
Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we come together today in a spirit of unity and purpose. Grateful for the opportunity to serve our community, we ask your wisdom to rest upon us, granting clarity, discernment, and a steady guidance as important decisions are made. May we act with integrity, compassion, and vision for the common good. We lift up our military members to you, Lord, both near and far. Surround them with your protection, strengthen their resolve, and comfort their families who support them every day. We pray for our country, for peace, stability, and continued commitment to justice. And we ask for your covering over every citizen, Lord. Keep our neighborhoods safe, our homes peaceful, and our hearts united. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledges to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All right, one of my favorite things to do is to recognize some amazing folks. And so if I could have my parks team, Stacy Anaya, and Dr. Jamie Baxter Sly, one of my favorite folks in the whole of North Texas. We have 3 different recognitions tonight. And as you can see, they're already bringing their hardware up here. Where's the other one? You left the other one.
It's gonna come.
There it is. Oh, there we go. There it is. Okay. We don't get, the laurel just stays over there?
That's for the report.
Oh, okay. There's so much hardware, we just can leave some. So we've got 3 amazing pieces of recognition tonight. The first is for Administration and Management Excellent Award. The second is for the Lone Star Recreation Programming Achievement Award, Class 2. And that doesn't mean we're Class 2, we're number 1. But they have these brackets for size for some reason. And then the 2026 Educator Outstanding Performance Award are the 3. And what I'd like to do is have Stacy and Aya come up to give a little bit of direction on these 3. Stacy?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members, and Parks fans. Every year, the Texas Recreation and Park Society awards excellent in our industry throughout the state. And this is really, the awards that we have won kind of follow our adage that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So our Administration and Management Excellence Award was actually inspired by responses to the Gallup survey that our Human Resources Department helps administer every year. And we found that we needed to be better engaged with our park operations team. And so Marcus and the park operations team came up with this idea that we would run a Shark Tank program. And our frontline team members would give us ideas about how we could fund improvements in their areas that were born of what they see every day out in the field. And so that program has helped us make a lot of improvements throughout the park system, the VitraPave that you see over at Wayne Ferguson Plaza, but also a new thing called a beaver deceiver out in Leela, where we're gonna kind of help cut down on the beaver dams that get built out there and plug up some of the systems and make the trails unpassable. So congratulations to Marcus and that team for that administration excellence. And then the Lone Star Programming Award is one of the prestigious awards with TRAPS because it talks about creativity and what you bring to highlight togetherness and programming and recreation in your community. And Miranda is a back-to-back winner of that over her team over at Thrive. And what's cool about this one, it was for our program called Zombies right? And we worked with our emergency response team, the police department, and a member of the engineering team to put together a zombie obstacle course to teach people how to prepare for an emergency and how to get ready. So we couldn't have done that without our teams there. And then we all love Dr. Jamie Baxter Sly, who can sit in the middle of what looks like weeds, but are actually teenage wildflowers and pollinators, and explain why we need to take care of them and let them grow and help us expand this amazing pollinative prairie program that we have in Lewisville. And the neat thing is that she's taking this to be a prototype to spread it not only across the DFW Metroplex, but to all of her students who are just going to help create further ripples down the road. So thank you, Dr. Jamie Baxter Sly, for being an inspiration to us, but also to our students, and who are going to help those ripples go on throughout eternity, hopefully. So congratulations to the team. Thanks, Mayor, for the recognition.
I think that's Mr. Lee now.
Oh, that's Mr. Lee.
It's a Samsung. It's got wide angle lenses.
I'm trying to slim down.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you. Item D, Visitors Forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. I do have one request to speak, and that is from Dr. Buddy Bonner. Dr. Bonner, if you wouldn't mind, state your name and city of residence for the record.
The fair city of Lewisville, Texas. Mayor, I'm here tonight to seek council's support as a nominee for Denton Central Appraisal District Board. As we're all aware, there has been a vacancy made at Place 4. It's a 2-year unexpired term that I'm seeking and would appreciate your nomination through resolution for that. I've been a 25-year resident of the city of Lewisville, and most recently I've served on the Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees, and through both those endeavors, both living here and serving here, I'm quite familiar with the Denton Central Appraisal District and the operations therein. I'll be honest with you, I don't have an agenda. What I do want, and I think all taxing entities would want, is effective and efficient operation of the Central Appraisal District so that this entity and all entities in Denton County can get their property valuations and their tax rolls in on time and be able to set their tax rate and their budget for the fiscal year. So I would certainly appreciate your support in that nomination via resolution, and I thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. I have no further comments for or requests to speak for the Visitors Forum. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and being acted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests. For a member of the public to request removal of an item, a speaker card or e-comment must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. I do not have any requests for movement from the public off the consent agenda. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you'd please vote. We're not going to let Lonnie vote tonight? Councilmember Tipton. Please stand by. I know Patrick and I are both standing here like, maybe we should stand behind him a little.
These are the longest fellow IT guys. It takes for 2 minutes, feels like a half hour. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. We have a vote of 5-0, so consent agenda passes. Item F, regular hearing, number 5, consideration of resolution of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, nominating a candidate to fill a vacancy on the Denton County Central Appraisal District Board of Directors, Place 4, and providing an effective date. The Denton Central Appraisal District notified eligible taxing units of a vacancy on its board of directors following the passing of Ann Pomacall, Place 4, whose term expires December 31st, 2029. The City of Lewisville may submit one nomination to fill this vacancy pursuant to Section 6.0301F of the Texas Property Tax Code. Nominations must be made by resolution and submitted to the DCAD Chief Appraiser by March 30th, 2026. The DCAD Board will appoint one nominee by majority vote to serve the remainder of the unexpired term. For this vacancy, City Council is asked to nominate an individual to serve on the Denton Central Appraisal District Board of Directors for the remainder of the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2029. It's recommended that City Council approve the resolution as set forth in the caption above and nominate a candidate to the Denton Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Council, I'll need a motion. We have 2 nominees.
Mayor, I move to approve the resolution as set forth in the caption and nominate Dr. Buddy Bonner to the Denton Central Appraisal District Board of Directors.
I have a nomination of Dr. Buddy Bonner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Council, if you'd please vote. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Bonner. And now it's up to the CAD. Item 6, consideration of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, amending the fee schedule to add credit card convenience fees to electronically process credit card payments made for city water, sewer, stormwater, and refuse collection services, providing for a repeal or a savings clause, severability, and effective date. The city contracts with Paymentus and Pace Merchant Services to process electronic payments for a variety of city services. Historically, the city has absorbed credit card processing fees for these transactions, with the exception of municipal court payments. The significant growth in electronic payments, particularly for utility services, made it financially unsustainable to continue covering these fees. City staff presented this proposed change to the City Council during the fiscal year 2025-26 budget workshop. Council authorized staff to move forward with implementation as part of the fiscal year 2026 budget. Customers may continue to pay by credit or debit card and cover the associated convenience fee, or may choose to pay with cash, check, or automatic bank draft, which remain available at no cost. The proposed effective date for this change is April 1st, 2026. It is recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. All right. Do I have a motion?
Actually, I wanted to talk about this for just a second.
Absolutely.
So just to be very clear, for anybody who might be listening, we're only collecting costs to pass through. This is not a money-making endeavor for us. This is capturing fees that we're currently being charged. Is that correct? Yes, fantastic. And there was a question that came about debit cards. So debit card fees, we are currently being charged. I know they can't be called fees, that's not, but we are currently being charged every time a debit card is swiped as well. Is that correct? And we're just passing on that surcharge instead of absorbing it like we've been doing for the past X number of years. Is that correct? Fantastic. Okay, that's everything. Thank you, Mayor.
I just wanted to point out in case, you know, just for the general public, you know, if you haven't read the backup material, just pointing out the fact that this is the amount of fees that the city is paying on behalf of the water users right now, which is us, is about $600,000 a year. And so the idea is you know, there's subsidizing of the people who are going through other channels, not using the credit cards and the debit cards that, you know, are having to pay for people like me who currently use their credit card. I will be switching mine as well because I honestly just had absolutely no idea that it was that much. So I'm going to convert. I hope many of you also convert as well. Save us all a little money, but I think this is the best way for us to steward our taxpayer dollars. So that I'll yield the floor to that.
All right. Any other comments? I have a motion from Councilmember Kelly.
Motion to approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption.
And I have a second.
And I second.
All right, motion and second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right, item G, reports. These are reports about items of community interest regarding which no action will be taken. City Council and staff reports. First up, I have our Director of Parks and Recreation Services, Stacy Anaya. She has a report regarding another award.
While I'm pulling that up on my phone, Mayor, I also have, if y'all are so inclined, or those watching, the thousands watching, over at Buffalo Hearst, the Friends of Leela are having a fundraiser in partnership with Buffalo Hearst, so a percentage of sales goes to the Friends of Leela. So if you like nature, or those who love nature, you are welcome to come out and join us. But also I wanted to let everybody know that the City of Lewisville, we received a Cross Timbers Urban Forestry Council Bronze Leaf Award on Friday for our centennial urban forestry efforts, which included planting 3,208 trees during our centennial year. expanding native habitats, and engaging over 700 volunteers while doing so. So thank you for everyone who supported those efforts and loves to hug trees.
All right, we're going to go through the rest of our announcements before we do closed session tonight, just to be expedient with our time. So I'm going to start over there with Councilmember Kelly.
All right, so it's election time. It's the first of what might be 4 different elections that we have in the first part of the year. So if you voted already, great. If you haven't, please go out and vote in the primary of your choice. Just remember, this is not the municipal elections. Those are going to come around in May, and we have runoff there as well. That'll happen after that. So beware of election fatigue, but please go out there and exercise your right to vote. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Green?
I was just going to mention that we are gearing up to have our first festival in Old Town of the year in 2 weeks on March 14th. Right here in Old Town, we're having our St. Patty's Day Festival. So come out, wear green, or you're going to get pinched.
Councilmember Tipton?
Let's be in prayer for those individuals, American individuals who are over in Dubai that are shelter in place. Let's keep those guys in prayer.
Councilmember Cade?
We also have a local boy that's in Kuwait right now. He was deployed and arrived there Wednesday. No news is good news at this point, since Kuwait base was one of the ones that was hit. But please keep Adrian Cortez and his family in your prayers.
No report, Mayor.
City Manager? I do want to let folks know that this Saturday we have our Roots for Wings. It's our annual training program to teach residents how they too can have amazing native landscapes. We have 40 seats available. 30 of them have been filled. That means we have 10. Please come on by. It's great. You can even buy native plants. You might win a native plant. There's all sorts of cool stuff, and you get to meet some of the coolest people who just love making sure that the plants you plant will stay alive through the Texas heat. With that, we're going to go into closed session. Section 551.072, real estate property acquisition, and this, of course, is Texas Government Code Subchapter D. Also, Section 551.087, economic development, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We are in closed session. All right, there is no further. Testing, there we go. As there is no further action to be taken on tonight's agenda, we stand adjourned. 7:30.